Citroen's Deux Chevaux was to France what the Volkswagen Beetle was to Germany, mobility for the masses. It was designed in the 1930s to help French farmers who still relied on horses and carts, as our classic car expert Christophe Bauer explains. He says Citroën boss Pierre Boulanger had concrete ideas about the car. It should have room for 2 farmers and a sack of potatoes and do at least 60 kilometers an hour, yet have such a comfortable suspension that a basket of eggs could survive journeys over bumpy fields unscathed. It should be easy to operate, but looks weren't important. In 1939, Citroën began making prototypes of the TPV, as it was then called, for toute petite voiture, or very small car. Though not terribly attractive, they met Boulanger's criteria, even passing the test with a basket of eggs. Head designer Flaminio Bertoni was told to keep the car functional. He was instructed to create an umbrella on 4 wheels. Christophe says that after the end of the Second World War, Bertoni was allowed to gussy up the body a little. In 1948, the Deux Chevaux finally made its debut, but response was lukewarm. The press dubbed the car a sardine can, or even worse, an ugly duckling. Oh la la. In Germany, the name stuck. To this day, the car is lovingly called Die Ente, or the duck. In France, the car quickly became a favorite. And why not? After all, it was designed to meet the wishes of the public as expressed in one of the first big market surveys, conducted in 1922. Then tire manufacturer Michelin asked 10,000 people what their ideal car would look like. Christophe says it'd be hard to build a more basic car than the Deux Chevaux. To him, the seats resembled camping chairs. The windows don't roll down. You swing them out and hook them on here. And you can hardly call this a dashboard. It's just a couple of pieces of sheet metal that have been cobbled together. Interestingly, the main instrument here is the battery indicator. The speedometer is stuck here in the corner. Strangely enough, the speedometer cable simultaneously powers the windshield wipers. So if it rains hard, you should put your foot on the gas.
Großartig.
Fabulous. Christophe says the Deux Chevaux is built on a box frame on which all of the body parts are mounted. So, like the VW Beetle, it doesn't employ unibody construction. And as you can tell from the protruding wings and hood-mounted headlights, its old-fashioned design dates from the pre-World War II era. But its huge soft top also makes it into a convertible. What sounds like a luxury was at the time nothing but a cost-cutting measure, as sheet metal was in short supply in the post-war era. Citroën never tried to pass off its ugly duckling as a beautiful swan. Its ads said the car's shape was unusual, but that its performance was second to none. The vehicle's legendary suspension with its longitudinal coil springs make the Deux Chevaux feel like no other on the road. The Spartan trunk can hold many sacks of potatoes, while the rollback canvas roof lets in plenty of fresh air. Inside, the simplest of seats and the unfinished-looking cockpit complete the minimalist look. And Christophe says under the hood you'll find the 2-cylinder 425cc boxer engine with an output of just 12 horsepower. You can't get much lower than that, although the first Deux Chevaux had just 9 horsepower. Yet the engine was progressive for its time. To reduce weight, the cylinder heads and cylinder block were made entirely from aluminum, and he says it's the only car he knows that you could start with a crank that was still in production in 1990. Citroën even considered doing without an ignition switch and starter motor. They reasoned that it was a car for farmers who all had wives to turn the crank. So much for equal opportunity. Even the Deux Chevaux with the most powerful engines have a hard time breaking the 100-kilometer-an-hour barrier. Going from 0 to 100 takes 30 to 40 seconds, yet there's no time to get bored. Christoph says the Deux Chevaux' off-road capabilities and hair-raising cornering are legendary. If you push it, the car tips so far to the side that you think it's going to tip over, but it doesn't. Its boxer engine makes for an extremely low center of gravity, so it's almost impossible for the Deux Chevaux to flip over. Back in 1967, Citroen considered stopping production, but the Deux Chevaux survived and continued to roll off the assembly lines until 1988 in France and 1990 in Portugal. In its later years, the model's horsepower increased to 28, 3 times as much as the original Deux Chevaux. Christoph says it's hard to make a car with less. The Deux Chevaux' technology was extremely basic and it cost almost nothing to run. That turned this anti-status symbol into a much-loved status symbol for students, anti-nuclear activists, and environmentalists. More than 5 million were built over 4 decades. He feels the Deux Chevaux symbolizes savoir-vivre, the French way of life like no other car, which makes it a true milestone in automotive history. Its low maintenance costs and robust technology have made this Citroën an enduring classic. Despite its small engine and minimal cubic capacity, some drivers have clocked up 300,000 kilometers in their Deux Chevaux. Not bad for an umbrella on 4 wheels.